Your friendly neighborhood rabbit hole activist here, back at it again. And just a little disclaimer here on the front end of this one. Regarding all the recent UAP, UFO, USO news, USO stuff, there really seems to be a connection here to the water, not only the ocean, but some deep lakes as well. The water, the ocean, and this whole UAP, UFO, USO phenomenon, which I just think is even more fascinating, just really, really cool. But especially the newest Skywatcher video, right? Like I said, just a little disclaimer here on the front end. You know, disclosure probably isn't going to happen the way most people would probably like for it to. You know, with some kind of big, grandiose mass sighting. And I'm talking about, like, you know, giant spaceships over New York or over the White House, or some kind of worldwide event, which we're gonna have a video about that coming up pretty soon as well, some kind of worldwide event, but more on that later. But yeah, you know, the most recent Skywatcher video has been criticized, not just for its authenticity, but also for the group's intentions as a whole. You know, I'm not going to really respond to any kind of criticisms for the video's authenticity. I think at this point, with all the evidence that's come out over the past couple of years in the UAP, UFO, USO space, if you are not a believer that something is definitely going on at this point, then I think it is going to take something like some kind of grandiose event to convince you at this point, because there has just been so much information that has come out over the past couple of years in this space, and it's, at this point, in my opinion, undeniable that there's something going on. Now, whether that be straight up extraterrestrial aliens or interdimensional creatures or man-made craft of, you know, deep state secret technology, something is going on. That can't be denied anymore. I think the question of their intentions is an interesting one. I don't necessarily find these guys to be, you know, bad actors, but it is interesting that they're out there doing these tests in, you know, the desert, whether that be in like New Mexico or Southern California or Arizona or, you know, Nevada. They're out there in the desert doing these tests and doing these invitations and these psionic capabilities and the dog whistle technology that they have, which they apparently have a really good success rate using. There is maybe an argument to be made that maybe these guys are interacting with some of those secret man-made craft that are hiding out there in the desert, in these, you know, military bases out there, underground military bases out there, like Area 51, for example, in New Mexico, and other test sites and things that they have out there, and military contractors that they have there, things out there as well. So there's an argument to be made on that point. I think that's interesting. I think it's a more legitimate argument than just straight up saying that they're bad actors, like some kind of plants or whatever. You know, especially since many people in the UFO space on both sides of the Dr. Greer-Lou Elizondo feud vouch for these guys and vouch for Skywatcher and their efforts. I think that gives them a little bit more authenticity, a little bit more validity, since there are people on both sides of this topic right now that seems to be split down the middle, kind of vouching for them. But the video reveals some pretty compelling footage and data, and it's data that they are willing to have analyzed by others. And we may not have like the picture perfect, clearest videos of these things yet, but what they have released so far is some of the best UAP, UFO footage that I've ever seen, up there with some of the other videos that have been released over the past couple of years, videos and photos that have been released over the past couple of years. It's some of the best stuff out there right now that we have access to, and we know are confirmed UFO, UAP footage. From that aspect, I think it's really interesting. And, you know, since for now at least, it doesn't seem like the government will straight out come out and say what's going on, and the UFOs and UAPs, the USOs, they haven't done like a mass reveal yet. Like I said, something like all across the world or across major cities, or they haven't done anything yet that's like this giant mass reveal to the entire human population, right? So in the absence of that kind of stuff, this is how disclosure is going to be, right? It's going to be with independent groups of people like Skywatcher, or like Dr. Greer and his CE5 contact teams, or like Tom DeLonge's group, To the Stars Academy. And I know all these groups are kind of infighting right now, or Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp or Ross Coulthart. It's going to be these people who are out there truth seeking and collecting data as best they can and sharing that data. Now, are some of these people maybe bad actors? Perhaps. That's not my inclination as of yet, but perhaps. And I think the rest of us, if you're not out there kind of doing your own research, so to speak, I think the rest of us just kind of have to hang tight and take in the data as we get it, All right, so with that being said, on the front end, let's do a little bit of a deeper dive into the Skywatcher's website. I'll put the link so that you guys can check it out yourself. It's great. You should definitely visit the site. They just have some different renderings of the craft on the website, as well as some additional information. So we're just going to go through those 9 classes that they released right now. Class 1, the tetrahedron. The Tetra. It's a tetrahedron-shaped UAP, which tumbles on multiple axes while on a stable flight path, and often appears in groups, 3 to 20 plus. So this one seems to be a social one. Its visual profile is black with intermittent white vapor bursts, probably from tumbling on all those axes as it's flying, and it exhibits strobing effects on electro-optical sensors several times per second. It's about 1.5 to 2 meters in size, and its flight behavior appears to tumble at high speeds across multiple axes while maintaining a stable overall flight path. It typically descends from high altitude to below about 2,000 feet. The Class 2, this is the Tic Tac. It's a cylindrical shaped UAP that hovers. It seems to elongate during stable flight and has an area effect on electronics and aircraft. That's interesting. So it seems to interact with their aircraft and electronics when they're observing. It's usually seen in groups also of 1 to 3. And it's observed sometimes with the manta ray in proximity. So there might be a link here between the manta ray and the Tic Tac, also interesting. Its visual profile is bright white. It's a cylindrical craft that shifts shapes during flight. So they mentioned that it does seem to elongate, but I think they also mentioned in their video that it can seem to kind of bend as well as it's moving through the sky. So yeah, it's observed to elongate horizontally and shift in color from white to purple to pink during transitions. Its size is about 9 to 12 meters, and its flight behavior is capable of vertical hovering with oscillation, rapid descent from altitudes assessed as high as 60,000 plus feet, and Mach 1.5 plus speeds, and abrupt arrest of motion mid-air. So meaning as it's maneuvering between these extreme altitudes as well as this extreme speed, it can kind of stop on a dime. It frequently tumbles while descending and then stabilizes before resuming flight. It uses terrain masking and performs independent, unsynchronized maneuvers in proximity to other craft. The Class 3 is the Blob. This is an orb-shaped UAP that exhibits pulsing internal light, horizontal oscillation, and erratic point-to-point movement, capable of extreme speed and rapid flare-driven expansion. Observed exclusively as singletons. So this has only been observed as just by themselves by the Skywatcher group, which is interesting because if these blobs are what people report as seeing as orbs, right? Orb UAPs, orb UFOs. Some people claim them to be like intelligent plasmas or things like that, some kind of interdimensional being. Those allegedly have been seen in groups before, so it's interesting here that they're saying it's exclusively observed as a singleton. Its visual profile appears to be red cloud-like orb, and that's interesting too because people like Chris Bledsoe describe the orb that they see as being like a blood red, blood orange type color, so that would kind of match this, right? With a pulsing light-bodied core, the central element flares in size and brightness, so there's something that seems to be inside there that's giving off some kind of light, at times expanding into a large red amorphous form. No visible propulsion observed. Its size is about 3 to 5 meters, and its flight behavior exhibits rapid, near instantaneous jumps between positions with no observable transition or acceleration. Movement is generally erratic, but often includes a lateral oscillation during motion or flare events. The form expands significantly, appearing to pulse or distort in size. So this thing seems like it can kind of change its shape and size to some degree, and also moves very erratically with almost instantaneous movement, transition between spaces in the sky. The class 4 is a beam. This is the beam class. This is IR-only orb-shaped UAP that vibrates while in a stable flight path, hovers in place for hours at a time, seen in pairs. So IR is infrared radar. The visual profile is it's not visible in the visible spectrum that we can see. It's only visible in the infrared. It presents as a stable, orb-shaped UAP with a strong heat signature and no off-gassing. Its size is unknown, and its flight behavior exhibits prolonged hovering, often remaining motionless for over an hour. Movement, when observed, is slow and deliberate. It vibrates laterally while maintaining a generally stable flight pattern. Now, these beams also have an orb-type shape when they're observed in the infrared, so perhaps these are the blob class, the other orb class, kind of manifesting in a different way, in a different visual spectrum, in a different light spectrum. Or perhaps these could be a separate entity or a separate craft, but perhaps these are the orbs that people see, and that even though the sky watchers have only observed them in the infrared, perhaps they can choose to make themselves known, to make themselves visible if they wish. The class 5, this is the manta ray, and this is the one that can sometimes appear with the Tic Tac. The manta ray shaped UAP, and it tumbles also on multiple axes, just like the Tetra did, the class 1. This one is rarely seen, and when it is, it's observed in proximity to Tic Tacs. The visual profile is a black manta ray shaped craft. It emits colored vapor or light from multiple points, including pink, green, teal, and translucent white hues. Plumage appears to radiate from the top surface, so that's interesting. This does appear to off-gas or produce some kind of waste in some way, or something is coming off of it. The size is 2 to 3 meters. The flight behavior is observed tumbling and rotating on multiple axes, capable of hovering in place and rapidly shifting altitude. Movements include both wind-assisted and wind-opposed trajectories at varying speeds. So this thing seems to move and fly with the wind, but also against it. And also rotating and traveling on multiple axes, tumbling through the air, kind of like the Tetra does. The class 6, this is the bright star. It's a reflective tetrahedron, kind of like the class 1. This one in their little graphic looks more like a diamond than the other one. The other one looks kind of more like a pyramid. Reflective tetrahedron shaped UAP that oscillates horizontally, flashing light. They describe it in their video as looking like a straight up crystal in the sky. The team has experienced sensor disruption apparently caused by directed energy. Interesting. So this appears to mess with their detection equipment via directed energy. So that seems to be, purposeful, like a chosen action. Visual profile: a reflective tetrahedron shaped craft that flashes in teal, green, blue, red, and white light spectrums. Appears to shimmer across its surface. Its endpoints of the craft are less opaque, possibly due to active plumage or light-based extension effects. Its size is about 1.5 to 3 meters, and its flight behavior exhibits rapid horizontal oscillation, fast enough to produce radar artifacts resembling a spinning propeller. Movement is erratic and high frequency, but contained within a lateral plane. The class 7, this is the jellyfish. The jellyfish-shaped UAP with seeking head motion and trailing tentacles exhibits a localized area effect on electronics. This one also appears to interfere with or interact with electronics, independent of specific targeting or interaction with sensors. The visual profile is white jellyfish-shaped craft with bulbous head and trailing tentacle-like appendages. The head comprises about 1/5 of the overall length, while the tail extends downward and appears to move independently of wind conditions. The size, the head is about 2 meters in length, the tentacles are about 3 to 5 meters in length, so overall about 5 to 7 meters in length. Its flight behavior exhibits winding snake-like movement along deliberate flight paths. The craft often moves from point to point in a meandering serpentine motion. The Class 8. Now this is the one I said maybe looked like the thing that Jason Sands had described in his encounter. In the video that the Skywatchers put out, it does kind of look like that based on the little graphic that they give. But the graphic that they give on the website doesn't look anything like that, actually. It looks more like what they actually described verbally in their video, which is that it looks like a jellyfish kind of carrying something. So this is the Class 8, the Hornet. This is a dual-body UAP with hanging tendrils and asynchronous rotation. The visual profile is a multi-part craft with purple, red, blue, and black coloration. It features a prominent tail that folds into a ball or extends in a stinger-like formation. The upper segment contains hanging tendrils, within which a secondary body appears to rest. Reflective flashes have been observed during flight. The size is about 2 to 4 meters, and the flight behavior exhibits irregular motion and asynchronous rotation between upper and lower components, rolls on both pitch and yaw axes while maneuvering. So maybe the jellyfish and the Hornet are related in some kind of way. Class 9. This is the one that Jake Barber revealed during his Newsation interview with Ross Coulthart. This is the Egg. It's an off-white egg-shaped UAP. This is a provisional class, they say so in the video as well. It has no corroborated motion, structure, or spectral data yet. The visual profile, off-white, metallic, egg-shaped craft. Visual data is limited in a single low-quality recording, no observable propulsion, vapor trails, or aerodynamic control surfaces. Size is unknown, and the flight behavior is undocumented. No verified pattern of motion has been established due to insufficient data, no radar tracking available during sightings to confirm flight behavior. So yeah, they are being pretty safe with this one. Seems like still they don't feel like they've gathered enough data to say anything at all really, other than what it looks like visually. But they did release a little video segment in the video that they put out where you can kind of see it just seems to be, from the video that they put out so far, just kind of seems to be streaking across the camera's view across the sky, just kind of streaking across in a straight horizontal line. So maybe a little hint there at their movement. Yeah, those are the 9 classes that have been released so far. Like I said, it's on their website. There's a ton more data and about what they're doing and that they've collected and their process and their research, and yeah, so there's a ton more info on the website. You should definitely check it out. And like I said, this is kind of how disclosure is going to be happening unless some kind of major event happens, which, like I said, we got a video coming up about that soon, or unless, you know, one of the world's major governments or a few of the world's major governments decide to come out and announce this thing. Short of either of those two things happening, I think this is the way that disclosure is going to be. It's going to be information, bits of information, video, sources, whistleblowers coming out independently and sharing information that they collect, and sharing data that they collect, and sharing video that they collect, and sharing sources that they know of. I think that's how disclosure is going to be coming to us. It's going to be us kind of clawing it and dragging it out, right? And in terms of, you know, are these things extraterrestrial? Are they interdimensional? Are the crafts themselves beings? Are they intelligent plasmas? Are they intelligent orbs? Are they intelligent craft of some kind? Are they time travelers? Are they man-made, secret, deep state, covert craft that we don't know about yet? You know, I think any and all of these possibilities can be possible, are possible, could be the truth. I think more than one of these things are true. I think there's multiple things going on here. And I think we just have to wait and see. And if you believe in the whole consciousness aspect of this phenomenon, which I think is also really hard to deny at this point, yeah, if you believe in the consciousness aspect of this, then I think that you could be doing your part as well and just trying to go out, look at the sky, look at what you see, try to reach out psionically, telepathically, you know, as weird or as crazy or as stupid as that might sound for somebody who's just kind of venturing into this topic. Give it a try. What can it hurt, right? Do it in the form of like a loving prayer, like Jake Barber says, or do it in the form of meditation and inviting them to come and show themselves. You know, who knows? Something could respond to you. Or just keep your eyes in the sky and wait for more information. Because I think this is how it's going to be coming to us. I think it's going to come slow. I think it's going to, I mean, even the Skywatchers themselves, this is only the third step of, I think, 6 steps that they're going to do. So, yeah, I think this is the way disclosure is coming, and I think we've been in the process of disclosure for a few years now, seriously. Probably since maybe 2015, 2017 was when the New York Times article came out. I think we've been in the process of disclosure for around a decade-ish now, seriously, around a decade-ish now. And I think it's just going to keep coming. I think it's going to get ramped up even more in the coming months and years. I think we're basically there at this point. And like I said, I think it's just impossible to deny that there's something going on. Something is happening. There are craft, phenomenon in the sky that we can't explain, right? And I think that at the very least, that is a true statement. So yeah, it's exciting times. And now what this disclosure means, now that's another story. Like I said, whether it's man-made stuff, whether it's time traveler stuff, whether it's extraterrestrial aliens, whether it's interdimensional beings, whether it's some kind of deep state agenda to fool us, control us, manipulate us, institute a world government of some kind, stay tuned for the next rabbit hole.